Hello, welcome and welcome back. This is Jacob and today we are gonna be finishing off, yes, we're gonna be finally finishing off the narration and character voicing for the Nearl light side story in Arknights. And like I said yesterday, we're gonna be finishing it off with the three extra epilogues that come with this story, plus the Hibiscus Diary in this episode, plus the little tiny extra lore bits that you get about what Rhode Island was essentially doing and some other elements we're doing in the background of this story the entire way through. And then at the end we will have one extra epilogue that is in the game but is not in here in this event. You will see what I mean by that, but maybe some people already know what I mean by that. Outside of that, just before I started recording this, I have seen that the channel, and I've posted already about it, that the channel has surpassed finally 500 subs, so thank you very much for that. That means quite a lot to me, you have no idea. And let's continue onward, shall we? And as always, thank you for the likes and the comments on the previous episode. They also obviously mean a lot to me and they help the channel out a lot. So let us begin with our 3 epilogues. So we're gonna be starting off with our first one, titled Escape. And it says here, the Grand Night territory is like a lighthouse, flooding the eyes of all of Casimir with its dazzling light. But even as tides of people surge into the territory, one can occasionally see some figures moving against the flow. Monique. Team 3, follow my lead. Santeria doesn't get to decide where she goes. Stop her at all costs, dead or alive. Roger. And whatever you do, do not let uninvolved parties know what's going on. Execute the plan. This is the choice you made, Santeria. If Roy was here, I wouldn't stand the slightest chance. But short one Lazarette, if we're just talking about escape, then it might have a pretty good shot. Who would have ever expected that the Platinum of the Armless Union would one day be hiding in the Area Zero that is controlled by the Adeptus preventively? Looks like break time is over. Would she really be hiding over here? We've searched everywhere else. True. Let her on your toes, though. Don't alert the patrolling campaign knights. The situation in this place is way too precautious right now. I know. I'm still pretty far from the nearest port. After crossing the industrial sector from Area Zero, I'll have to decide if I want to take the residential sector or commercial sector to the docks. It's way too far. But if I can at least make it out of the industrial sector, I'll have sort of a fighting chance. Who's over there? Stop sneaking around and reveal yourself. The team member lifts his short bow. You an infected or something else? Just a little closer. Found something? There's something there, right around the corner. I'll cover you. Okay. Look at that. It's Platinum's quiver. She must be around here. Don't move. Tell me where Monique said it. What's she planning? Tell me and I might let you live. Wait, I don't know. We're both armorless here. You know exactly what those words mean. Maybe you could use some help jogging your memory? Reporting in. Talk to me. One of our teams was detained by the Adeptus preventively while searching Area 0. Detained? They seem to have run into campaign knights during their mission. They were all injured. Should we... They think we're just in Area 0 to take out the KGCC's dirty laundry. Let them think that. But things aren't so simple. And where is the gathering in Area 0? The residential sector. Good. Notify the hunters in the residential sector to start moving in the commercial sector. Reporting in. Talk to me. Platinum has appeared in the specified location. Get ready to round her up. Roger. Team 3 should be enough to catch her, but how much does she know about the way we hunt? If she tries to flee to the main street... It's me. If you have so much free time on your hands, why not come help out? We all have our own jobs to do, no? I'm a busy man, you know. So, what's the situation? My team will flush her out, and I will personally finish the job. Clean and quick. Today's a good day to hunt. Glad to hear it, but just in case, let me remind you once more. The KGCC has realized that they're lost control of Darksteel, but we aren't ready yet. Don't let them catch wind of which side we're on. I know. Centauria still holds the platinum seat on the board of directors. Make sure to come up with a good excuse. Roy? Don't worry, just in case. Those 3 magnanimous bosses of ours will do us a favor. Almost there. Once I get through the commercial sector, I can get out of Casimir's. Drop your weapon, Platinum. Monique promises that as long as you do what we say and head back, the Union is willing to overlook your betrayal. We're all armorless here. Spare me the horse shit. Spare me the horse shit, said the horse. Don't even try to resist. We've blocked all of the exits and you have nowhere to run. If you know what's good for you, you'll... Leave the negotiations to the professionals. You bunch should work on your aim first. As long as I can blend in with the crowd in the commercial sector, then I'll still have a chance. I hate to bring it to her, but she is, with her outfit and her hair, she's literally a snowball in the middle of a concrete street in the middle of summer. Yeah, she will not... She will totally blend in with the crowd, right? Probably went to the same school as the assassins in Assassin's Creed, right? Just a little more. Some are already moving to guard the exit. In any case, she's still platinum and won't go down without a fight. After her, don't disappoint Monique. Where do you think you're going? Surrender already, Platinum. Let's try this again. I don't want to end up like the old man, dying in a place like this. At least let me die somewhere I can see the sky. Do it. Huh? Down to my last arrow, huh? What young knights need is experience, not the decadence brought by competition knights, weaned on the teats of prosperity. Rhode Island is a trustworthy company. They won Gravel's loyalty, and there is no reason not to let her go out and see the world. That is what the Grand Knight said to my master. Wow, Gravel, you're
impression is pretty dead on, even if you don't change your voice at all.
I feel called out. I agree, it's amazing. Doc, don't call yourself out. I mean, what?
The key is to hit all the important points. I wouldn't even call it a skill. It's just that I had to really relay messages to my master a lot.
I feel called out again. Sorry, what?
This master, do you mean the Knight Primus of the family that raised you? Yes. Did he agree to let you go? I haven't tried to convince him yet, but I will do it. The last time I brought it up, he got so mad he chased me out of the house.
I said this before, but while the initial beginning of the story between Gravel and her Knight Primus master is obviously controversial because of all the slavery thing, it's very wholesome. That whole thing is very wholesome. I would love to see that guy at some point, and all I can say is look up her module short story here on the channel if you wanna hear how that story goes. It's why are all the Knights tsunderes in this whole realm? Why is every single one of them that way? Anyway, continuing.
I see. Almost there, just a bit more.
Bumps into Hibiscus. Both of them, huh? Gravel immediately into battle mode, shining red eyes. In a flash, Gravel's blade finds its way to Platinum's neck. The only reason she stays her hand is the total exhaustion on the powerful enemy before her. Killing her couldn't be any easier.
Are you okay? Ow, ow, ow. I'm fine, but you're seriously hurt. Trouble seems to have found you, Platinum. None of your business. She can't walk straight, but I'm not seeing any open wounds. Is she just exhausted, or...? It's that armorless union. They've caught up. Rebel? Or are you the traitor? The doctor!
The armorless collapsed on the ground before you is nothing like the elegant assassin of your impressions. The best choice of text bubbles. Which one do you pick now? Book.
You're the doctor from Rhode Island. Are the outsiders all like you?
Gravel?
I'm here.
I don't expect the armless union to let us off easily.
To be honest, I was hoping to bring this up with you. After all, the enemy operates from the shadows. In Casimir's, the armless union has countless ways to torment your company.
Right. Hibiscus, tend to her wounds first. Gravel, hold back the armless union.
As you wish. Hold on, okay? You listening, Miss Armorless? Why?
I just have a big heart, I guess. Helping others is like helping myself. After her. We mustn't let her get away. Contact Monique. Damn it, why are you getting in our way?
Who knows? Maybe this is why the Radiant Knight was willing to trust Rhode Island.
We don't have time to waste on you.
That's right. We're short on time. To make matters worse, our activities have been exposed to a campaign night. Judging by your tone, you plan on killing me? For some time now, it seems that whenever I try to get some work done, uninvited guests always end up getting in my way. So sorry to hear that. So sorry about that, Lazarite. I have a request from the doctor. By its nature, that takes priority over work. I can't take you in a fight head-on, but stopping you from landing a clean shot should be no problem for me. Rhode Island, huh? Without the Radiant Knight and those strange Sarkas behind you, don't you think you're overestimating yourself a bit? Even from this distance, I can easily put an arrow through both that doctor of yours and Platinum. Hardly a tall ask. Your presumptuousness is about to cost you a lot more lives, Knight. Let's see if you can stop me.
Huh? Wait, hold on! Monique!
I know. And who gave you permission to order me around? Platinum? We have no more need for a Platinum. Go to hell along with that meddlesome Sarkas doctor. Damn it!
Her pride forbids her from missing again. Monique draws back her longbow.
Who dares to harm Rhode Island's medical staff? What?
The arrow's steel head corrodes and deteriorates. The shaft gradually softens into a branch with young shoots, falling gently into her hand. The figure in the distance is but a wavering speck, and Monique feels a discomfort spreading throughout her entire body. It is a sense of imminent danger. The small Caprine takes gentle steps forward, bearing a calm and leisurely casting pose that seems ill-suited to the battlefield.
I was just thinking how rarely my line of work brings me back to the landship, and how nice it would be to touch base again. Imagine my surprise when I happen across this lovely scene. Who are you? You aren't privy to that information, Armless. It's normally against my principles to interfere with matters outside of work, but just now you seem to have shown clear hostilities against a fleeing member of Rhode Island. That isn't allowed, Armless. Easy now, your wounds are deep. Don't worry, once we get through the commercial sector, we'll be able to see Rhode Island.
Platinum has not slept since she started running 3 days ago. She dared not to eat or drink out of fear that anything she bought might be a trap set by the Armorless Union. Rhode Island. She turns and casts her gaze backwards. It's the Doctor of Rhode Island, the leader of a foreign organization that always ruins her plans. Her savior.
Ironic.
She contemplates whether or not she wants to keep up appearances in front of the Doctor. She ponders whether or not she wants to ask to be taken away from the Grand Knight territory. She still has not awoken from beneath that ensorcelled sky. And by the way, ensorcelled is enchanting.
It would appear that optimism alone is not enough for just two to stop a Lazarite. Really, I thought we've already done a pretty good job, given how many we're up against. That campaign knight is still able to put up a fight after taking such a beating because of your arts, huh? How do you know who I am? Are you from Casimir's? You ask too many questions, Armless. Let's try to work things out slowly. If that's what you want. You seem to be more of a medic than that Sarkas. But in other words, you can't hold me off for as long. Since you seem to know so much about the Armless Union, then you should know that we have something much more terrifying. Please, go on. This knight and I, we're not the kind to kick others when they're down. Right. Fine. Have it your way.
Monique?
We're pulling out. The campaign knight have noticed the commotion. Don't draw any unnecessary attention.
Huh, but our scouts didn't find any knights nearby.
Don't make me repeat myself.
Yes, of course. All forces regroup.
Consider yourself lucky. Lucky? We We make our own luck, Armless.
Meanwhile, I'm curious, Mlinner. How many years has it been? How many years have you spent tilling the land of Casimir's like a burden beast? Carol passed without seeing you change a single thing. How many enemies and opponents have you tormented, giving them no respite even in their nightmares? Even with you doing nothing at all, it took them so long to believe that Mlinar Nural would no longer be a thorn in their side. You were still young back then, you were in your prime, but for Kirill's sake, for the sake of the two kids that would come after you, you chose to remain in Casimir's. After all these years, even I thought you had long given up. But why now? Why did you decide to leave the Grand Knight territory? You don't need to know. You know that the Adeptus Parvildivli's deepest secrets are still hidden under those gaudy lights, right? Beneath the Grand Knight territory's wall of champions. What did the Archivist tell you? No, someone that stubborn would never let anything slip. That means this was the Grand Knight's intention. I'm just enjoying my well-deserved vacation. Then I look forward to you returning to your post after your vacation, Mlinar. You don't need to worry about that. I've lived a very long time, Mlinar. While I still remember you ignited the Lethanian conspiracy. Incandescent waves would swallow entire enemy formations. You cooled those traitors' knights one by one, like a farmer harvesting wheat. The Radiant Knight's glow is but an empty pallor. What pleases me more is your boundless light, your wrath. And since then, I've believed that if I ever saw your radiance once more, I would need to take your life. And you? After over half a century, this is the final destination you would choose for the armless union you crafted with your own hands. I simply made the wisest decision. You should understand my rationale. Or has the Radiant Knight made you believe that the Nearl family can forge a new future? Have you accepted her idealistic, impossible path? You speak of paths and the future. The Nearl Knights have never needed others to judge the directions of their paths. I just didn't believe those girls had the power to stay on that path. Nor did I believe in the companions they found. But that was then. You have a point. You and the Radiant Knight are of a kind. The only difference is you're more disillusioned than she is. You believe in the country less than she does. That's all. It is a pity. I had thought that our disillusionment and wrath were one and the same. You did everything you could to try to integrate into the General Chamber of Commerce. Don't you dare lump me in with you. The time for reminiscing is over. What? It's not enough that the Armorless Union will no longer harm Rhode Island or the Nural family. Is that not enough to show my sincerity? It is enough. Otherwise, your corpse would already be outside collecting the sun and rain. You know better than me all the things the Union has done. We've never seen eye to eye, Darksteel. As harsh as ever. Goodbye, Mlinar. I hope that your vacation will prove fruitful. Are you feeling any better?
Just because the Lazarites went after me does not mean that I've lost my standing in the Union. I might still be answering to the board of directors. You have to know that, but...
I think this will be a win-win situation.
Darn you, after all the trouble we all went through, can't you at least show some gratitude like a normal person? Thank you, Doctor. You sure know how to put a girl in a rough spot, Doctor. Relax, Zalak. The treatment works better that way. Thanks. Gravel, how'd you end up with Instructor Touch? Sheer coincidence. Sorry, but would you mind letting me sit and chat for a bit? Ah, of course. Instructor, if you'd like... No need. I'm just here to report back to Amia.
Good work, you two.
Taking on a Lazarite was no easy task. But this counts as a win, right? You owe me big time.
Let's head back to Rhode Island.
Seems like you and Platinum have reached an agreement. Enemies one moment, chatting and shaking hands the next moment. That's special. Maybe I should take a break too. What are you plotting now, Armalus? You're staring at me. Until you leave Casimir's, no, until you get away from the doctor, I'll always have my eye on you. After all, you said it yourself, if the Armalus Union was ever to rebel, the KGCC might come to you in private. Don't think you're absolved of your sins just because the doctor saved you, murderer. Your bloodstained hands will never know trust, Armalus. Can't argue with that. But don't worry, at least for now, I have to work to earn the doctor's trust. If you don't even know the basics, you'll never make it in the Grand Knight territory. Are you making fun of me? That's too much of an effort. Don't sweat it. Are you leaving Casimir's with Rhode Island? What's it to you? Rough times are ahead of us. This is the first time I've ever been on a landship like this. That doctor really is strange. Strange? That's no way to talk about the one who saved your life. Fair enough. Will we come back here? Do you want to? No clue. Never gave it much thought. But for now, I just want to leave.
Alright, so several things in that part. One of Rhode Island's elite operators just randomly, as always, decides to show up in one of these side stories, right? So yeah, that was Touch, one of Rhode Island's elite operators, pretty much in the same category as Mechanist and Shaw, for example, that we've seen in other stories, one of them in a very recent story. And yeah, interesting powers that they wield, right? Anyway, this story also brought to light that yes, Darkseal is a real entity, they exist, they are old, and they are still very much a threat somewhere in the background, even though the Armorless Union is pretty much disbanded at this point. And yeah, outside of that, it was very interesting to see back then when this released originally, Platinum's actually joining Rhode Island in a very obscure way. Being literally dragged into Rhode Island just to save her own behind. But she's part of Rhode Island now, and she's definitely in a weird place where, well, she's kind of isolated if you think about it, at least from the Casimir's people, who probably don't want to have to do much with her, outside of Gravel, who is paying very close attention to her. But yeah, like I said, this is the pretty much the finale where Miller appears, and his story will obviously continue in an Obscure Wanderer, which, once this part is completely done, if you're followed along without skipping ahead to his story, which is the next part of this narration. So once you go to that one, please enjoy. That one did bring up quite a bit of things, let's put it that way. But yeah, very interesting stuff. So let us continue on to the second epilogue, titled Choice. After the first rays of dawn, the Pinus Silvestris nightclub will make their own choices, and of course, others will do the same. But as for which choices are correct, whether now or in the future, it's all up in the air. So do we all have to go to that Rhode Island place for treatment?
You don't have to go, you get to go. Just because you're used to living with Oripathy doesn't make it less dangerous. No matter how many things we still have to do, if our bodies fall apart first, what good are all those ideas?
Well, you have a point.
I sure do. Take care of yourselves. It's been a while since we've gotten any serious Oripathy treatment. We Knights aren't the only ones affected either. There are still so many ordinary workers, farmers, and civilians with us, and we can't force them to suffer through Oripathy. We can't let what happened to Jamie happen to anyone else.
Right.
Sona? Oh, Ashley, what's up? We talked to that Sarkas medic, Hibiscus. Rhode Island has to leave the Grand Knight territory this afternoon. We have a lot of people with us, so we need to get ready ASAP. Alright. Justina and Ivona should be reaching out to the rest of the infected who can still be contacted. And the Armless Union and General Chamber of Commerce really plan on giving up, huh? If what we learned is true, they should be a bit tied up right now with their own problems. And besides, Rhode Island is still under the protection of the Adeptus Prohibitively. At least for now, they're safe. What you staring at me for? What did Tolan say to you? Huh? Where did that come from all of a sudden? Ever since the two of you went to that village outside the Grand Knight territory, you're like a completely different person. Those villages on the outskirts of the Grand Knight territory were established over the last few years in conjunction with the Cavalierki Alliance. There shouldn't be anyone out there except a bunch of ordinary farmers. I doubt the bounty hunters have a foothold out there, so he must have had some other purpose. He entrusted us with a single task, concerning Casimir's, this country, the infected, and all of us. Why didn't you tell me then? Honestly, I'm not sure by myself. It's been on my mind this whole time, though I thought I'd tell everybody about it once I sorted things through in my own head. Are you mad at me? Then just come out with it. Isn't that what you once said to me? You don't even know how to... you don't even know how fidgety Grey Natty has been the last few days. I kept having to tell her everything is fine. No one here asks you to carry everything on your own, Sona. Sorry. So, what's eating you up? If what we are going to do next is at odds with the purpose we had when establishing Pinus Silvestris, what would you do then? What does that mean? If we are no longer just fighting against the corrupted knights, against the KGCC, no longer solely fighting for the benefit of the infected. If we have to tolerate the discrimination against the infected, join hands with former enemies, choose our fights carefully, if we have to completely change ourselves. If we had to indefinitely set aside the peaceful lives just in front of our eyes and leap into the fire again, what would you do? What's with all those questions out of the blue? I'm not good with the philosophical stuff. What's the difference? How would you answer your own question? As an infected, as a knight, I believe that we should strive to do more. Although right now, I don't know. But as Sona, this isn't how I want to leave you all. Still, I'd rather that than force you down a path you never intended to take. And beyond that, nobody even knows where this path will lead. Sona. I've never seen you lost in thought a whole bunch I've seen you lost in thought a whole bunch recently, and it's made all of us uneasy. But I hope you understand one thing. Pinus Sylvestris may be the name of a nightclub, but we all know that even if we are knights, we also aren't really knights. Whether you're coming to us as a knight, as an infected, as a Zalak, or even as just regular old Sona, you can always talk to us. Ashley. And you'll get the same answer every time. We're not splitting up. To be honest, after everything we've been through, I don't think there are any infected in the nightclub who strictly identify as knights. Of course, those who want to leave and pursue an ordinary lifestyle will help them as well. But that lifestyle isn't for us. Not the four of us. That's right. If we were as mercenaries as those guys, I would have waited all those years for nothing. What are you waiting for? For a storm, so I can become the lightning. If you like lightning that much, you should just paint your armor gold. What? Great idea! Now, that you've all made your feelings clear, let's focus on the issue in front of us. Let's get the infected over to Rhode Island. No rest till everyone's on board. We're going to set sail soon.
Flametail? Not everyone made it to the roll call. They must have been captured by the patrolling knights.
Huh? Didn't they make everyone legal? Why are the knights still arresting people?
I don't know. They said they're not releasing anyone without a ransom. And once again, another situation where they didn't highlight the proper person talking. Corrupted nobles in need of some discipline. Sona.
I know. Tell the others to keep to the plan and report to Rhode Island. We need to act fast.
Alright, what about you?
We're gonna do what we've always done.
Kick some butt.
Hibiscus, all these people. I knew what was coming, but actually seeing this many at once makes me wonder if we actually have the capacity. It'll be fine. Doctor got some help from Mr. Malkiewicz. Oh, right, Amia. I heard we were planning on to open a new office in the Grand Knight territory. Ah, yes. With how many infected knights there are, we can't keep them all on Rhode Island forever. Plus, there are still those infected who we can't take care of, who still need a way out. When the time is right, Pinus Sylvestris will help us establish our office. How nice! They'll even get to see their homes again. Was this that Flametail Knight's idea? Not entirely. The doctor also pitched in. Oh, I really wanted to meet Flametail Knight. I heard she's done so many amazing things. Amia, do you know why she isn't here yet? Huh? Now that you mention it, she was supposed to be here by now. Amia, Hibiscus, it's time to go. Oh, okay.
Again, wrong person being highlighted.
Shining, have you seen those knights from Pinus Sylvestris?
For some reason they flipped it.
From what the infected knights told me, they stayed behind to help some infected who were being harassed by knight nobles and were unable to catch up with the rest of the team. Then we need to go back and back them up. Until we leave this country's borders, Casimir's will continue to keep a close eye on us. Even now, dozens of campaign knights are waiting for our foreign enterprise to leave the Grand Knight territory. But...
Sorry, I let my emotions get the better of me and I got into a fight with that knight noble.
Don't worry about that now. Even if you hadn't overreacted, they would have found some excuse to torment you. Just grit your teeth and run. Sona, we've got company. Not the knight nobles, it's the Armless Union. They're tailing us from both sides up on the roofs. Aha, perfect. I was just about to feel guilty for not leaving them a parting gift.
That makes two of us.
No, we have to keep moving and get to Rhode Island as soon as we can. It mustn't cause trouble for them.
Sona?
The Radiant Knight! A pillar of light? That must be Nural, right?
Yes, no doubt about it. None at all.
Shining. Ah! Look! At that red-tailed Zalak running towards us. Is that the Pino Sylvester's nightclub? Huh? Isn't the boarding ramp on the other side, though? Sorry, I'm a late, Miss Amiya. Gangway, we're jumping! Wait, what? Are they actually going to...
We're actually doing this? Whoa, that felt like a real hero's entrance, right out of a novel.
Haha, piece of cake.
I wouldn't have brought my shield with me if I knew this was going to happen. Sorry for dropping in unannounced.
It's fine.
Long time no see, little knight.
It wasn't that long ago. Sona? In the flesh. How have you been, Amiya? Should we get everyone introduced?
Well, that was a landing. Meanwhile... Good morning, Mr. Charlie. Why the formal wear today? Are you finally heading back to the city? A very distinguished guest will be paying me a visit today. I've waited a long time for him. Oh, what kind of guest? Is he also from the city? He is a former colleague. I see. I won't bother you anymore then. Just make sure to fetch the water before the sun goes down. I will. I'm also very curious what he's like now. The last time we met, he was still a helpless little pen pusher, so wishy-washy that he couldn't even speak up for himself. Didn't even have a single decent suit. But now, you've changed so much, Malkiewicz. Mr. Charney? Come in. I know you must have a lot of questions. What are you surprised that my house is... What? Are you surprised that my house is so run down? The thing that surprises me more is how well you seem to have adapted to this life. I'm sure that one day the number of people in high positions, solely because of their birth, will become fewer and fewer. Just look at your tone of voice now, Malkiewicz. You're more qualified for your job than I ever could have imagined. Congratulations. Before I found work in the Grand Knight territory, I was just the son of a winery worker. That's quite different from what was on the resume you left in the office. Oh, you even did your homework on me, see, Malkiewicz? I have a good eye for talent. You are in peril, and you are powerless within the KGCC, but you still managed to track me down and find my home, even after I completely changed my identity. You found me, Malkiewicz. I can hardly recognize you anymore. If you're going to be uncomfortable, at least try not to show it. It's bad for negotiations. I am a branded criminal, and you, well, the fact that you've come before me today without a completely new face means that you've risen through the ranks since the end of the Major. Come, let us toast to your promotion. Mr. Charney, your exile was unjust. No, you didn't come here just to tell me that. The fact that you know the truth and about how I was treated means that the people who told you this truth wanted something from you. If I was in their position, I surely would have wanted Charney dead. I'm not doing that. Why? That goes against my principles. Principles, hmm? Do you not realize the person standing before me, speaking so confidentially of principles, was a pauper who couldn't even put food on the table just a few months ago? Face it, Malkiewicz. You've already embraced this society. Sooner or later, you'll join its chosen. Quite a nice aroma to these 2 cups of wine. But I don't think you should have to lose your life. Platinum of the Armorless Union was just as naive and innocent as you, which is why I have my life. Of course, I think she only spared me out of convenience. My family chose not to accompany me to this little village, instead continuing their comfortable lives in the Grand Knight territory. They divided up my assets, the Radiant Knight became the champion, and Charney became a criminal. The infected can never break the shackles of public perception. It proves I never misjudged Kazimierz. It is what it is. Come, Malkiewicz. This bottle of brandy was given to me by a former employee who I had promoted. He secretly sent someone to deliver this to me after learning that I was still alive. Despite that, though, he still looted my ill-gotten bribes. I had to pretend not to see that the necklace he was wearing came from my collection. And this glass is poisoned. But don't worry, I only just slipped in the drug. As long as you don't drink it, nothing bad will happen. What's the meaning of this? Help yourself to a glass. I'll take the other one. No, this is ridiculous. I'll be taking my leave. Of course you can leave, Malkiewicz, but the end result will be the same. Oh, and don't try to throw out the wine either. Wine is very precious, but poison is plentiful. Why are you forcing me to do this? I don't understand. We only just met by chance during the major. Why? Malkiewicz, have you really not figured it out yet? Cheers, Malkiewicz, to your continued ascendance and to my retirement. Cheers. Are you Mr. Charney's guest? Why are you here alone? What happened to him? What does Mr. Charney usually do around here? That's a story to be shared over dinner. The folks from the city sure know their stuff. Most of the time he is helping the other villagers plan their business, or teaching the kids how to read and write. What's wrong? Your face is all red. Did I say something to offend you? No, it's nothing. Oh, are you headed back then? Sorry to bother you. I won't give in. I won't become what you said, Mr. Charney. I'll fight to the bitter end. I swear it. So, I guess you could say we have the situation of Schrödinger's Charney there. He might be alive, he might be dead, potentially very, very dead if he actually went through. And man, he actually planned a double suicide with his former employee. Alright then, Charney. That is definitely something, alright. But I guess, in the end, he just didn't want to go alone. But yeah, interesting. Also, goddammit, Pinus Silvestris has probably one of the best entrances to join or land onto Rhode Island. Quite literally land. They made a leap from somewhere to jump onto the goddamn loading ramp. Only the Zalex could do that, right? Only the Zalex and the Burbs could do that. Anyway, that's their entrance and joining of Rhode Island. Now we go to our third story and our third epilogue here. Titled Long Road. The Knights still have a long road ahead of them, but in this developing era, knighthood is destined to die.
As I am now, I don't think I have the patience to sit down to read a book. Margaret. Viviana, when did it happen? I don't know. If I had to say though, it would probably be the moment I charged into the Major without stealing my resolve. You're welcome to stay. I've thought about it before. After all, the Grand Knight territory still has a knight like you. But this is also the choice I've made. Choice? You know, when I decided to draw my sword so that you and the Blood Knight could go on that fantastic adventure, I was actually very excited. Don't go all quiet on me, it's making me embarrassed. It's not the kind of experience you get to have every day, fighting for others, for a greater ideal, for something that seems unobtainable. Maybe after leaving Leithanion, I never really lived as a knight. You aren't staying after all. If you leave, I'll be playing right... If you leave, it'll be playing right into their hands. Let me put this another way, Margaret. Don't let me stay. Beg me to come back. I'll come back for sure. But for now, I'll follow the Nova Nightclub's arrangements and stay for a while in a remote city. It'll be a fresh and exciting adventure. What about the other knights, your friends? The few that I do have, aren't they all here already? I'm honored. At least let me see you off. Sure, having the champion see me off would be a great honor on my own. Alright, I forgot about this book when I was packing. You can have it though. So that works out nicely. A poetry anthology? Twin Moons and Marigold. I'm not familiar with Lithanion's literary scene.
Ugh, I hate that word. I can never pronounce it. The L's and the R's in there. Ugh, blah, blah, blah. Anyway.
The wonderful thing about symbolism and metaphors is that you're not forced to come up with a single concrete answer. Just like the Radiant Knight and her deeds. My ride's on its way. Do you see it? Yes. I wonder if the Grand Knight territory will be different the next time I'm back. You know as well as I that this country won't change so easily. But at least I want knights to be called knights once more. Good. Remember your promise, Margaret.
Sorry to keep you waiting, esteemed Candlelight. Whenever you're ready. Oh, what a surprise. Good day to you as well, esteemed Radiant Knight.
Hello. Are we leaving right now?
Yes. You'll be the last passenger. The catastrophe messenger is also ready.
Alright. I hope it's a lovely city. Until next time. See you again, Viviana. She's gone. You're still not coming out? If I remember correctly, you're...
General Chamber of Commerce spokesman, McKee. But now that the Major is over, I won't have the title for much longer.
Maybe it's time for you to take a stand.
The affairs of Madame Droste and the Nova Nightclub have always been my responsibility. I was just carrying out my last assignment. By the looks of things, I was too late. What a shame.
I see.
The way Madame Droste was mistreated has everything to do with you. Radiant Knight, we are now enemies, given what you did at the Major.
That's not quite accurate, spokesman. It's just that we're committed to our own beliefs. and fight for our own ideals and justice. That is, assuming the General Chamber still has ideals, and isn't just relying on others to line their pockets.
I didn't expect you to be this sharp-witted.
I'm just stating the facts.
Alright then. So this is where the Candlelight is going to live. Not a bad place. But I'd write her a couple of letters if I were you. She might not be as strong as you think.
The city of saplings and artisans, Ognisko.
Quick reminder, that is the same city from where Mob is from as well. Oh, right. What business do you have over there?
What business, huh? Maybe I want to try my hand at poetry. The name of the city is pretty poetic, isn't it?
A bumpkin like me wouldn't dare prattle on in front of someone like you.
You're too modest.
Are you looking forward to the next chapter of your life?
Maybe. It really might make for a nice poem.
Meanwhile, what do you want, Pegasus?
I'm not sure if the Knights still remember this, as it isn't something taught in the history books. The so-called Kagan Quest, the true name of the ceremony is...
Yoletta speaking in an ancient language.
The Kagan Quest that crosses the heavens.
What do you know?
When Knights Mora warriors came of age, they would head to a trial site of their choosing, under the watchful eyes of their family and tribe leader. The ancient race's traditions always believed self-reflection to be the ultimate test. Confidence or arrogance, caution or cowardice, all would come to light. Not all Knights Mora tribes had this tradition though. Only a few examples of similar rituals can be found in historical texts. There is but one exception. One single person spent an entire lifetime completing that Kagan quest, and that person has entered history. Tola, we assumed your grandfather to be deceased, but not only did he survive, he also continued the Knights Mora bloodline.
Pegasus! You?
Anger, your birthplace is hundreds upon thousands of leagues from the Grand Knight territory. Did you come all this way to become a knight? Rampaging your way through the arena just to vent this anger?
Yet, I still dare not to raise my blade against you. Pathetic! Who the hell are you?
Just an old, feeble campaign knight. Put your blade down, young Knights Mora. I wasn't done with my story. That man who did not complete his Kagan quest until he reached death's door began his journey in the once lush grasslands of eastern Ursus. He stood in the middle of the vast prairies, looking out across the wide land, and made a promise to his tribe and to his brothers and sisters. His Kagan quest would cross the kingdoms of the Hippogriffs and the Pegasi. He would topple the exalted throne of the Gaulish Emperor and tear down Lithanian's 1,000 spires. In the final 10 years of his life, he did indeed complete his Kagan quest as promised. The great Kagan flayed the entire world, burned away the previous epoch, and set his sights on the border of human civilization. Your ancestor accomplished great things. Tola, you are a part of the Kagan genealogy, the last descendant, living right before our eyes.
The Kishik's greatest accomplishment was pulling the pedantic wise man like the Pegasi from their thrones. Look at you. Even as they look down on us from high, what have the Pegasi done but watch as those pathetic jesters tore down the era of knights? Take a good look at yourself. What about you resembles a knight? What is that slender ceremonial toothpick at your waist going to block?
In Casimir's, I need not draw my blade on anyone.
Nice joke!
Also, we were not watching idly. We simply did not have the ability to turn back time.
I'm not interested in fossils who've lost their will to fight. Out of my way.
Then where is the place you plan to begin your trials?
That's not for you to know, Pegasus.
What you no longer have a leader to answer to, or a family to return to. You have no plans to come back. Vogelweide told me everything, Knights Mora. I've watched your matches. I can't stop you from leaving.
What?
After you've completed your journey, if you still wish to return to Casimir's, you can become a great knight and step onto the battlefield honorably. People of your kind are rare, and you are an exceptionally rare talent bearing the Kagan's blood. Though that bloodline no longer runs thick, I do believe you'll always be an excellent warrior. You deserve a chance to experience true, glorious combat.
So arrogant. You and all the knights I've seen the entire way across Casimir's have all been the same. Arrogant. Fighting for you, fighting for this eyesore of a country, is supposed to be glorious.
I simply do not wish to see such a promising sapling seek out its own death.
Huh. My choices are mine alone, Pegasus. Leave. Get out of my way. Leaving the city is only the beginning of my journey. Meanwhile, in a village... What? A knight? Why are you here? The other Neville told us we'd get a grand knight to visit. I bought a plot of land nearby. Oh, you must be the knight who bought old Jackie's plot. Ah, a pleasure to meet you. Please forgive me if I'm guessed wrong, but judging by your dusky red armor and your sturdy posture, your title... What was your title again? I'm not a knight anymore. Then if you could be so bold, you might you be... If I could be so bold, might you be... Dikaiopolis, the Blood Knight? I was once called that. My god, you really are... All of us are huge fans. Why did you retire all of a sudden? You and the Radiant Knight. If you're here, you must be in some money trouble, right? I mean, just ask and... No, what am I even saying? I'm so sorry, you're the great champion. Of course you'd have more money than us. Come, I'll show you around. Yes, alright. Look, right here is the biggest shop in the village. The old master's not doing so great these days, and now his daughter's taken over.
Oh, and who might this knight be?
We were just talking about him too. Crazy coincidence, isn't it? He's the one who bought that plot. Take a guess at who he is. No, right now It's the Blood Knight, the champion, the Blood Knight, Dikaiopolis. The champion? Is it really him? The Blood Knight is coming to stay with us?
The Blood Knight? In the flesh?
Yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I let myself get carried away there. Here, if there's anything you ever need, just let me know, and I'll get it for you. Don't worry about the rest. I mean it, no need to be shy.
In that case, what crops do you have here?
Crops, you say? Normally we purchase all the seeds we need for the village in bulk, but if you have any special requests, I'll arrange it for you.
Just out of curiosity, do olive trees grow here?
Olive trees? The kind from Minos? Hold on, maybe the village elder will know.
Don't worry, it's not urgent. Just let me know when you find out.
It's no problem at all. I'll be right back.
Oh my, where are my manners? Am I being a bother? Hey, give him some space. He must be tired after coming all the way here from the city. Over here, sir. I'll walk you back. One moment. If you recognize me, then you also should know that I am infected. An infected? Oh yes, right, you're an infected knight. You're not afraid of a ripathy? Of course we are. But what of it? Then you all should keep your distance from me. Oh, that's what you meant. Right, you are infected after all. I'm sorry, I was way too excited. But still, don't you need people to help you out every now and then? See, farming isn't something you can just jump right into. You don't have any prior experience, right? There are a few students in the village. When I head back, I'll ask them if they know if you can grow olive trees here. Oh, that's right, about the ripathy. Can they treat a ripathy in the city? Not effectively. That's why I chose the plot of land furthest from the village. If you don't have any particular business with me, it's better to stay away. It's very dangerous. Then do you think I can get an autograph first? What's your name? Me? Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. They all just call me the old dentist. You can call me that too if you'd like. Sure. If there's anything I need help with, I'll be sure to ask. But at least right now, I need to... Sir? Go home first. Need a change of clothes too. Can't always be walking around in a full suit of armor. Why don't you head back home for me? For now. For me? Right. I should do that. Well, I won't keep you any longer, sir. See you later. I really do need to hurry back and grab a change of clothes. Wow, I never expected to actually meet a Blood Knight in person. I can still hardly believe it. But now that I think about it, when did he announce his retirement? And he even chose to come to a place this far out in the sticks. I wonder if there's some other reason he can't talk about. Another visitor? Since when is our sleepy little village so lively? Maybe living in the big city really isn't all it's chalked up to be. Hello there. Where are you from? The road ends up ahead. Come this way. Good day to you, mister. Just before I continue, that bit with Roy there, if I remember correctly, I hope I'm not misremembering that one, but that tiny bit where Roy appears in the village actually I think continues in one of the to be continued mini stories, which, like I said before, actually also covers the little plan that Roy and Monique had with the plastic surgery. So I will leave a link to the playlist in the description of this video to that one, because it covers a lot of side stories from all the way up until that point. And yeah, it pretty much just shows what happens to Roy and Monique after this story. Pretty much a sort of conclusion to their little thing. And yeah, anyway, let's continue with Redacted years later, Northern Ursa's border of civilization. 1:43 p.m. Light snow. Why are we still out on patrol on such a cold day? Stop your whining. There's not so much as a village around these parts. Only a Sami observatory a bit further off. Well, it actually belongs to a Colombian. That's strange. I heard, but this is only a rumor, that yesterday a Sami priest of some sort was in a real hurry to see the boss. A Sami priest? Oh, you must be talking about those snow priests. Why are those terrible things crossing the border all of a sudden? Well, if I know. Well above our pay grade though. Not something we need to know. Just keep your head down and your eyes fixed on the endless snow in front of you. Each and every day till your eyes hurt. Fair enough. Wait, slow down. Up ahead. Are you seeing that over there? Is that a horn? Looks like it's been left here for a while too. I don't see any wheel markings or footsteps. What do we do? Let's head back and report it to the boss. There shouldn't be any man-made objects around here. Can you tell what this horn might have been used for? Doesn't look to be anything Sami at least. Seems pretty old and worn out. Did you hear that, or am I just imagining things? Huh? Probably just imagining things. Anyway, let's get in touch with the team first. Still got a working connection. 7th Expedition Team. We've discovered a horn of some sort. Yes, no other markings nearby. Hold on. It's that sound again. Expedition Team. We've found something else nearby. We'll contact you again in 10 minutes. Hey, look over there. Since when was there a forest that way? Quick, hand me the spyglass. According to the 7th Expedition Team's intel, 2 Ursus patrols found an army at the far northern border. And when they followed the trail of the army, they reportedly heard the sound of war drums and clashing weapons, but could not find traces of any people. The only thing left behind was an abandoned horn. Nothing else. The Sami individual denied doing anything, and the Colombian Observatory only further corroborated his denial. The snowy land was shining peacefully, as far as the eyes could see. There was only a single row of footprints gradually disappearing into the thick snow, extending past the far north, beyond the border of civilization. The son of a bitch made it. Tola, some years later, actually makes it all the way to the northern border, beyond Ursus and Sami, and actually heads into uncharted territory. Oh boy. Now, the good question is, will we ever get to see him again? Will he make another appearance sometime? No idea, honestly. I don't even know if any of the stories that have yet to be released on Global actually cover anything to the far north, to be exact. Because that is, like I said, the borders beyond civilization, and the only thing we do know about the north is that the Ursus are essentially keeping the demons, quotes, at bay with both their troops and their blades of the Emperor from actually spilling into the south. So, no idea. And also, more on that, again, in the A Walk in the Dust story. If you want to know more about the Blades of the Emperor, the elite units of Ursus, and what they potentially are and what that might signify. Anyway, that has been 43 epilogues, so now we are going to be continuing with the Hibiscus Diary entries, of which we have 4, and they are covering, obviously, the events that were happening through, obviously, Hibiscus's point of view, along with the story. And also, I would like to point out that not just this document right here, but also, obviously, the timeline below is actually one of the rare times in this game where we have an actual, not just a year when this is taking place, but also a absolute to-the-point date of day, month, and year. And just as another quick reminder, so this is taking place at the end of, close to the end of the year of 1097. The main story of the game begins at the end, literally last week of, the year 1096, carrying over with Act 1 into 1097. So in those 2 weeks, pretty much where the main story of Act Initium and Act 1 is taking place pretty much revolves during that time period and concludes. In the period in between is a boatload of side stories taking place, including this very gigantic side story. Maria Nural, Nuralite, Pinus Sylvestris, and the An Obscure Wanderer side story are all pretty much in a row taking place one after another during that time period. And they all pretty much conclude just before the events of Episode 9 kick off. And as another quick reminder, Episode 9 is not when Rhode Island reaches Londinium yet. They are on the way, but are not there fully. And furthermore, just after this story is when Break the Ice is taking place, aka when the Doctor goes to his little excursion to Kierag and pretty much meets the Silver Ashes and everything else, which will also have a rerun very soon, I believe. But yeah, also a fantastic little story. Which also pretty much was nice to see and have the Silver Ashes properly introduced with their family and introduce us to probably the cutest pair of side NPCs that I have seen in this entire game. My personal favorites. But anyway, let us continue with this and keep moving on. So, Hibiscus Diary Day 4 on the... Oh, and by the way, whenever you hear me say dates in this in these narrations, I am European. I will obviously be using the format of day, month, year. So just for anybody who is in the US, apologies, please don't get confused. I'll probably repeat that in the future, but that's just how it goes. Anyway, the 27th October 1097. Phew. We're finally in Casimir's. We raced through the wilderness to get Nearl to the Grand Knight territory as quickly as possible. We got buffeted around every night and even almost got tossed out of bed once. But I heard the Nearl managed to make it in time for the competition and was even able to save her sister. Incredible, huh? I wonder if someday I'll get to make a grand entrance and bail out Lava. If only Lava was here. And by the way, when I was originally reading this, I was under the impression that when she said if only Lava was here, meant that the Casimir story is probably taking place at the same time as the what was it again? The Who is Real story. But that wouldn't make sense because of how much older all three of them are essentially. Especially Lava Cruz and Hibiscus Alter are way older than they are here, at least 2 years later, so I did definitely mistook that back then. But I would say Lava is probably on some kind of other mission, or or maybe even the very mission that shapes them into the operators we know in their alter forms later. Anyway. While Rhode Island was docked with the Grand Knight territory, Amiya gave the medic team a mission on behalf of the Doctor. It seemed like we'd be helping a large number of infected this time, and if necessary, we'd need to accommodate some of them in Rhode Island for treatment. Judging from the look on Amiya's face, this mission wasn't going to be easy. Some operators had to leave Rhode Island and hold up in a special infected quarter of the Grand Knight territory to provide medical services. I'm one of those operators. When our operators from Casimir's were introducing the Grand Knight territory, they said they would link up 4 major nomadic cities during the major. Pretty crazy, huh? But it can't be bigger than Londinium, can it? Maybe next time I'll ask an operator who's familiar with both places. While I'm writing this, I've already boarded the special shuttle prepared by the Adeptus Pravilivli Casimir's. Right now, it seems like this shuttle's the only way to get between Rhode Island and the infected stationing area. Because of some policy or other, we aren't able to freely go where we want. That's a shame, because I wanted to have a look around the town in the middle of the city. However, I can already tell that the Grand Knight territory is incredibly prosperous, just from the sights I've seen along the way. There are huge electric billboards and high rises everywhere, and the entire city looks really vibrant. There are entire districts for the infected to live, as well as reception centers for the infected. And overall, this place doesn't seem to have as much hostility towards the infected as many other countries. I heard that the infected are able to become knights here, and famous infected knights can even gain considerable renown and status. For example, just look at the last major champion, the Blood Knight. I wonder if he's stronger than Nural. Speaking of Nearl, everyone's selling merchandise of her, from small stalls to huge malls. Earlier, I bought a keychain of her head and crest from a roadside store, and the shop owner immediately started chatting with me. I guess he was one of Nearl's loyal fans. Once he got started about her, there was no shutting him up. After we talked, he insisted on giving me an extra keychain. He wouldn't take no for an answer and wouldn't let me pay either, so I just took it in the end. The people here really are way too passionate. And at the bottom here we get treated to the picture of the cityscape that we've seen throughout the story, but also a picture of a close-up rather of one of the infected knights' arms, the two aforementioned keychains, which I would totally buy if I could. I am a bit disappointed that in none of these they mentioned the one thing that I also mentioned in the story, that I would have loved to see some reaction from Nightingale when you select the option to buy that little doll for her, or even have that little doll or figurine or whatever it was displayed here with the rest of the merchandise would have been nice. But anyway, continuing to the next one. Hibiscus Diary, Day 10. 2nd November 1097. It's been 4 or 5 days since I was stationed in the Grand Knight territory. The situation is, well, how should I say this, not looking very good. The environment aside, this place is both luxurious and run down, as if the construction crew packed up their bags halfway through the job, leaving only crumbling buildings and neighborhoods for the infected to inhabit. The infected here, and particularly the infected knights, seem to have little concern for overly tapping their Originium arts at the cost of their lives. I heard that there's a knight competition for the infected, and it's terribly cruel. So the infected knights have to fight for their lives, with their lives. That being the case, aren't the only two paths available to them either dying in the arena or dying to high Originium cell assimilation? After all, there aren't many who will survive to become champions of the major like the Blood Knight. Perhaps he's not in very good health either. I can't tell from videos of his matches. If he's also had to make his way from the underground arena, then the way the medic team has divided up its duties is I'm primarily responsible for assisting Shining and Nightingale here. Their arts will greatly alleviate the pain of orypophy patients. I am in charge of administering infusions, changing gauzes, and monitoring the patient's vitals. If anyone has an acute orypophy attack, I have to immediately report the situation to Shining and the others in charge of this area. I'm so tired. This feels even harder than field medic duty. Patients are always screaming and moaning into my ears. There are so many people here. It feels like I can't get to them all. My head hurts. Let's try to take care of a few patients before my shift ends. I slept for a little bit. My head's still groggy, but at least I can continue my work. Shining doesn't seem to have slept at all, while Nightingale was resting in a wheelchair, hugging her staff. Bless them. After seeing how hard they are working, I really can't afford to fall behind. But I'm not trying to compete with them or anything. I just want to do my part as well as I possibly can. That's all. After all, the more work I put in, the greater the chance the patients have to survive. I still remember the little Kuranta who didn't dare to look at the needle, his head buried in his mother's arms. I still remember the knight who danced while playing a traditional tune on the harmonica. I also remember the old man who'd always sit on the roof, comfortably napping under the sun. They're still laughing. They can still enjoy life. They haven't given up. And I won't give up either. And here at the bottom we are treated to a very beautiful yet very sad picture of what was just described above. Hibiscus changing IVs and gauzes and taking care of patients. Nightingale potentially casting her arts on the patient that is in front of her there on the ground, and so is probably shining their way in the background. A beautiful yet very sad picture. Continuing on to the 6th November 1097, Hibiscus Diary, day 14. The medic squad that left earlier for fieldwork returned to Rhode Island and joined up with our relief efforts after resting and getting situated. Finally, we have enough manpower, and combined with the fact that not as many people need medical attention as before, I've slowly been able to get more time for myself. Coincidentally, Gravel told us the Adeptus Prohibitively approved the application for Rhode Island's operators to travel freely, so yeah, I can now go sightseeing around the city. Before I left, an old infected man gave me 2 tickets. "Oh, Hibiscus, I heard you were heading into the city. Look, I bought these 2 tickets betting on Lady Nurl's victory. I'm old now and it's hard to get around, so could you swap these in for me if she wins?" I couldn't just refuse the old man's request, so I told him, "Don't worry, Nural will definitely win," and held on to the tickets. The number written on it was huge, and might have even been the old man's entire life savings. Was it really a good idea to spend all that money on these? Of course, I have a lot of confidence in Nearl, but it's hard to say if she'll be sure to win. She won? She won! She really did it! This is amazing! I should go turn in these tickets now, but I don't really know my way around Casimir's, so what should I do? Oh, that's right, I'll ask Gravel. She's not here right now, so maybe I'll look for Amia instead. I explained the situation to Amia, and though she still looked confused, she knows more about the Grand Knight territory than I do. After looking at the visitor's guide map for a while, we finally found the ticket exchange window at the arena. Hopefully, this large sum of money will allow the old man to spend the rest of his days in peace and comfort. So what are Misco Sports securities? Do they really have such a different face value exchange rate from Casimir's currency? I thought the old man was going to make a ton of money, but in the end, he only got enough to afford a few meals. When we handed the winnings to the old man, he seemed especially happy and was thanking us profusely. After that, he took the tickets and solemnly placed them into a little metal box. Amia and I chatted with him for a while, helped him change his drip bottle, and then quietly left after we helped him fall asleep. Even though I don't think gambling is particularly healthy, the old man's support for Nural is remarkable. I think I'll tell Nural about him if I get the chance. I know she'll be very happy knowing that our people's quietly supporting her. And obviously at the bottom we get treated to a very, very excited Hibiscus and a very bit confused Amia, and the very same tickets that Hibiscus was mentioning in her diary from the old man. Anyway, continuing on to the last diary entry on the 11th November 1097, Hibiscus Diary, day 19. After providing over 10 days of medical services and on-board treatment for the infected peoples of the Grand Knight territory, the medic team completed its mission and returned to Rhode Island, ready to roll out to the next job. Unfortunately, the Grand Knight territory is way too big and there is no way to fit all the infected on board. But after Nural won the championship, she chose to stay behind to help Rhode Island establish a Casimir's branch office. And at the same time promised to the doctor that she'd do her best to provide a sanctuary for the infected of the Grand Knight territory. Nural said that if Rhode Island ever called upon her, she'd return, no matter what. But since we're going to be separated for the time being, I can't help but feel a little sad. When we said our goodbyes, I gave her the healthy meal recipe I had spent so long researching and developing. Oh no! Anyway, Hopefully this little gift will be able to help her ever so slightly, and I sincerely wish Nearl a luck in her work in Casimir's. You just gave her... She just gave her a recipe for poison. Anyway. Oh, right, I told Nearl about the old man. She said she'll go and visit him if she gets the chance. I wonder how she'll react when he sees his idol in person. So she gave Nearl a recipe for poison, and she set the old man up for a heart attack. Good job, Hibiscus. Oh god. Anyway, continuing. The Grand Knight territory. How should I put it? Even up until I left, I still didn't fully understand this city. It's very different from any place I've ever been to before. Every 3 years, it merges with 3 other cities to form the supermassive Cavalierki Alliance, and the primary purpose of this merger is to hold the knight competitions. After the merger, the 3 cities combine seamlessly with the capital. Communications, business transactions, and transportation all flow together without obstruction. A feat that would be completely impossible in Victoria. If anyone tried to merge a remote city such as the Toron or Linton with Londinium for even a second, the aristocrats would be furious. In that respect, Casimir's is truly remarkable. Unfortunately, nothing is fundamentally different about the way the infected are treated. I snuck off to watch the infected knight competitions. It's a life or death battle with no escape. The audience seemed really happy, but the bloodlust in their eyes was a bit scary. When will the infected knights, just like the normal knights, be able to fight fair and square in the arena under the protection of the law? If only one day the infected and the non-infected could join hands and play together in the park. When that happens, this whole world will be much more beautiful, which will be a much more beautiful place. Alas, this is Rhode Island's vision and probably Nurl's conviction as well. So that's why she chose to stay behind in the Grand Knight territory. To help and protect the infected. If you have a conviction, work to bring it to life. And our final picture here is a lonely little Hibiscus on board of Rhode Island looking out to the Grand Knight territory as the land ship is leaving the area. Alright, this does it for that section. Like I said, I think I said it in the first episode of this narration, I will not be covering here the entries into the news articles, because they mostly just cover stuff that is happening through the city, and we've already seen stuff about that in the stories. Probably the only interesting one might have been the Red Vine one, which is, as you can see, yeah, they are up to shenanigans. Yeah. They have their own little shit going on. Yep. But anyway, this is not what we're gonna be covering here. But what we will be covering is the background story of what is happening and what was Rhode Island doing during this entire thing. And we've only kind of got snippets of stuff. And the way we are going to do this is through hitting here view all tasks and being greeted by tiny little messages that are pretty much covering stuff along the story, post-story, and some other stuff along the way. Not just for Rhode Island, but for some other individuals during the story about what they were doing. So, let's begin with this section. So, first off, we are beginning here with the Casimir section, or rather the Adeptus Praviltively Casimir section. And these first ones are pretty much following along with the main story. So, the doctor directed the follow-up procedures for dealing with the deceased infected knight's body. Nobody was infected in the process. So, the very first one is already talking about Jamie, the infected knight that died at the beginning of the story. Continuing, some members of the Adeptus Praviltively Casimirs were also present at the banquet hosted by the General Chamber and reached an agreement with the Doctor. The power outage has increased the security pressure on the Adeptus Pravilivli Casimirs, and Rhode Island has moved to provide assistance within its capacity. After receiving the investigation materials, the Grand Knight personally thanked the Doctor. In order to deal with the wiretapping problem, Rhode Island helped the Adeptus Pravilivli Casimirs readjust their communication encryption method. That is probably some closure shenanigans. The Adeptus Pravilivli Casimirs entrusted the making of some rare decorations to Rhode Island's workshops. Rare decorations, huh? Well, if you ask me, giant Amia plushies everywhere. Anyway, due to the friendly cooperation between the two parties, the Grand Knight hopes that Rhode Island can participate in the cleanup work following the closing ceremony. Since it's difficult for ordinary security personnel to deal with drunken knights, having Rhode Island field operators handle it is a logical choice. Sure. After the mission, each Rhode Island operator received some limited edition merchandise as a thank you gift. I called dibs on a Nural statue. Anyway, thanks to Amia's emotion-filled persuasion, the incident was quickly resolved. In light of the flagrant excesses from certain newspapers, the Adeptus Pravilivli Casimirs launched an investigation with the assistance of Rhode Island, and the final entry here: Thanks to Rhode Island, certain champions can enjoy a few days of peace and quiet. And here in the other category we have 3 little entries. First one: after Rhode Island completes its pursuit, the Adeptus Pravilivli Casimirs will issue a corrections request to the National Council. After repeated trials, the camouflage process for the campaign knights has been further streamlined. Utilizing the information provided by the Doctor, the Grand Knight was able to accurately assess the future policies of the General Chamber. Jesus Christ, the Doctor just evolved into everything. Alright, and then we continue with the KGCC section. During the opening ceremony of the Major, the Doctor met with the staff from the General Chamber of Commerce and made a good first impression. During the preliminary teleconference, the Doctor's sharp thinking impressed the participants from the General Chamber. After the groundwork for a trusting relationship were laid, the General Chamber arranged for some key dispatches to connect with Rhode Island. With Rhode Island's escort, the materials safely arrived at the designated location in Area 0. Rhode Island has a knack for dealing with emergencies, a quality that the General Chamber lacks. The General Chamber hopes to tap into the Doctor's business acumen to predict key projects following the Major's conclusion. And this one is, I think, just a thing from Malkiewicz directed to the Doctor, just saying, I need your advice, Doctor. Continuing, eradicating a Gloompincer infestation takes a lot of money, and getting Rhode Island to do it costs a lot less than hiring exterminators. Thanks, I guess. The commercial shot by the Rhode Island operators paid off handsomely for the General Chamber. I guess you're welcome? The General Chamber is very satisfied with the way Rhode Island handled the harassment from the Nightmare Knights fans. You're welcome once again? Because some directors' children were involved, the General Chamber could only seek external assistance. And the final one in here is: the General Chamber has never been monolithic. In certain matters, they tend to trust Rhode Island. Alright, and our final entries here come from the section for the Armorless Union. So, the Doctor has teamed up with Casimir's bounty hunter. Very interesting that... I talk about this in An Obscure Wanderer, but very interesting. So, the Doctor is already cooperating with with dear Toland. Continuing. Before the completion of the bounty, Toland had no idea that the Doctor would be so experienced in commanding such operations. Again? Toland? Why are you not in a bag yet? Anyway. Continuing, the Doctor approached the new company on behalf of Rhode Island, only to discover that the representative of the other party was Mlinar. And there we go. That's where the cooperation with Mlinar starts. The Doctor and Mlinar eventually reached a consensus, signing an agreement on behalf of both companies. So, the way this is written, I believe this is already... might not be the moment he signs a contract to become like the... I think his file states that he is a representative for Rhode Island in the Grand Knight territory in Cavalleria. Cannot even say that name anymore. But that is essentially why he becomes an operator for us. He is essentially Rhode Island's representative over there, while Rhode Island is obviously not there. So I'm prone to believe that this little entry here is already signifying yes, he's already on board and cooperating. And the final two entries here are: the Doctor met Platinum by chance while strolling, quite literally, and we just saw that. And the final one: drawn together under coincidental circumstances, the Doctor and Platinum had some afternoon tea. I can only imagine how awkward Platinum would have been during that tea, not knowing how to react and approach the Doctor. But this is yet not the end. Alright, one more epilogue, but give me a moment. Alright then, and here we are. Here is our final epilogue of this story. For those who might not be aware of this and are maybe new to the Arknights side stories and stuff, for quite a while now, every time they introduce a side story into the game and some new 6-star characters are being introduced with it, those same 6 stars, especially if they are involved very heavily in the story, usually have a operator record, and that operator record that you can see right here, for example, is pretty much an epilogue to that same story. For example, Ebenholz, who recently got introduced a couple of months ago, his operator record was an epilogue to his own story, to the Lingering Echo story. The operators Spectre Alter and Irene both have a epilogue story to their situations after the conclusion of the Sultifera Navis story, and there are pretty much many others. I'm actually flabbergasted whenever they introduce a side story and the character on banner doesn't actually carry a story, but that is kind of rare from what I've noticed, but it happens. But anyway, let us continue and let us finish this. So, Nural's operator record, titled Starting Point. Reality is no competition, and there's no day of unconditional victory.
Margaret?
Huh?
Aunt Sophia? Sorry, I'm a bit busy and didn't hear you come in. When's the last time you got some sleep? Be honest with me. I'm not trying to hide anything from you. I just don't actually remember. I didn't expect to be this busy after winning the championship. I left in a hurry last time, so I didn't actually experience any of this. You are the champion of the major after all. All eyes turn to you. And the other champions, actually even these semi-finalists, have whole professional teams around them to help with this stuff. You shouldn't shoulder this all alone. Aria and I are here, and now that the games are over, we'll do everything we can to support you. I understand. I'm very glad to have you here too. Then let me help. You can't even see the sunset with that thick stack of documents in front of you. I feel a lot better about myself now. Looks like these are almost all business opportunities. I rejected most of them. As for the rest, let me have a look. Speaking at the school, I'm sure you'd be glad to share. I'm sure you'd be glad to share your experience with children. A press conference for health products? Did this company cooperate with Rhode Island during the major? Would you consider talking to them? Oh, I'll help you think about it. I know what you're thinking. If you take this first step, what about the next step? Right. I've been more and more worried about that. The major was only a starting point. Nural?
Oh wow, it broke again. Okay, I don't know why the game does it. I had to already fix that once, but I'm not gonna do that right now. There should be just the basic default medic operator there. This is funnier. I'm gonna leave this in.
Operator Ivy, did you run into trouble with your mission? No, we're doing alright, but there is trouble with another group. It's a group of infected. As you know, the Cavalierki Alliance just disbanded and they... I know. Give me the location and I'll head there right away.
Step aside, let us into the city. You can't do this to us.
Please, Honorable Knight, we'll die if you leave us out in the wastes. Look, there's so many of us trying to stick together. We even have kids. We came here a few months ago to work in the Grand Knight territory. We lived in the city before that. There are swarms of gloom pincers not far from here, and we don't have enough food on us. Plus, if a catastrophe happens...
Don't cry. Your tears mean nothing to these cold-blooded assholes. I used to look up to you people as heroes, thinking you were different from those ungrateful bastards in the General Chamber of Commerce. Your identification codes show that you don't belong in Cavalierki.
Yes, you already said that. But today alone we went to the other cities, and all three of them said the same thing when they turned us away at the gates. They said we were under the Grand Knight territory during the Cavalierki Alliance, but now that the major is over, starting today the Cavalierki Alliance is no more. So what it means is you expect us to wander the wilderness for 3 whole years before we can return to the city?
I'll repeat myself again. You cannot enter Cavalierki unless you have permission. In other words, as soon as the major is over, the Grand Knight territory no longer has any use for our cheap labor. And we deserve to be left behind, thrown away just like the rubbish from the 4 cities after they separate? No, I refuse to accept that. The guts on that guy to go up and smack a silver lance. Take one step forward, and I will consider it an illegal branch of the checkpoint. Breach. And if I did step forward, what would a lot of you do, huh? The heroes of Casimir's are campaign knights. Would you run your lances through the hearts of your fellow people? Or have the infected stop being your fellow Casimirsians altogether? There is no need for me to answer your question, infected. If you don't turn back this instant.
I think there's still room to turn the situation around.
You're the Radiant Knight. Why would the Radiant Knight be... Oh, it's Margaret.
It is, Uncle Liam. We meet again. Honestly, I never expected to meet you under these circumstances.
During the separation of the 4 cities, we were ordered to take over the job of securing Cavalierki.
Securing? Prior to this major, the campaign knights hadn't shown themselves in Cavalierki for a very long time, let alone an entire squad of silver lances guarding the entrance to a city. Do these infected threaten the safety of Casimir's?
Margaret, you know the answer. You two know each other? How stupid of me. You're the Radiant Knight of the Nearl family. I used to worship you. I used to think you'd bring light to us infected. But now, we see you for the imposter you are. Traitor to the infected. Are you going to stand with the campaign knight and point the tip of your spear at us?
Sir, whether or not you trust me, please take your companions and rest over there for a while. I'll handle things over here.
Rest? Sure then, let's see what kind of show you're going to put on. Right here with no cameras or spectators. Margaret, they don't see you the way you see them.
I've always known that. But in my eyes, the infected are not Casimir's enemies. They are just ordinary people who've had to endure extraordinary suffering. And from your answer, I can already guess the attitude of the Adeptus Proviltively. However, Uncle Liam, this is a question I will ask again and again, and if necessary, I shall ask it with my sword spear. Do the infected threaten the safety of Casimir's?
All units, stand down and return to your positions. Margaret, raise your weapon. You should already know how knights get their point across.
Very well. Uncle Liam, how long has it been since we last dueled?
Grandmaster, the 4 cities will be completely separated by around 10 o'clock tonight. At present, all entrances to Cavalerielki as well as all key facilities around the city are secured by our knights.
How long has it been since we've laid our eyes on this scenery? We owe it all to young Margaret.
Speaking of Margaret, Grandmaster, will she agree to your proposal? After all, she has already turned us down several times.
Times are changing. Children these days see things more clearly than we did back then. She will see things clearly, and she can still stand on our side without being a Silverlance.
Yes, we all hope to fight side by side with a Nural, no matter which field. This has never changed.
Field. In the aftermath of a major, the General Chamber of Commerce's concession was only temporary. The very future of Casimir's requires Margaret's power. And if she wants to continue moving forward, she also needs us.
Indeed, she does have a long road ahead of her.
You all saw what her last act was during the major.
So you mean that batch of infected stranded in the desert? I see. That's why you'll have Liam handle this?
Liam was the one who volunteered. Standing on the sidelines of the arena, he might say he has nothing but contempt for the hypocritical games, but in reality, he misses his first duel with Margaret.
You're sure that Margaret will draw her weapon?
Without a doubt. Otherwise, her name would not be Margaret Nural.
Let's see how much you've changed over the years. Standing before a true knight's lance is nothing like the mock play in the arena, nor is it like dealing with riffraff in the wastelands.
Uncle Liam, I'll always remember how you taught me to wield a spear on the battlefield when I was still very young. When a knight charges, he fights to defend every yard of soil beneath his feet. All these years I've never stopped charging forward.
It takes more than words.
Right. My spear will speak in my stead and tell you everything I have to say.
Let's get started. Under the sunlight, the silver on the lance's tip glows faintly with no air of pretense. It has been darkened by the erosion of wind and soil. The golden light flowing from the blade of the sword spear gradually dims until the only bit of the eternal radiance that remains is the spark collected in the young Pegasus's eyes. Charge, sweep, feint, thrust, block. Their actions seem to blur into one, at a speed hardly distinguishable to the naked eye. Absent is any glow of arts, the only light comes from the clashing of the two adamantine stars as they collide in the wastes. Is that all you've got? You've gotten slow, Margaret. In battle, you get only a split second to land a decisive blow. Is this a duel between campaign knights? It's nothing like brawls in the arena. They're kicking up dust everywhere. Even standing at this distance, I can barely catch my breath. They're clearly not even using any arts. Watch out. Haven't you learned to watch out for yourself first? Margaret, you have your eyes on too many others. You're full of openings.
Uncle Liam, I disagree.
This light. You not only blocked my lance, but also...
I advance, I burn brightly, slowly for the purpose of illuminating others.
The Silver Lance Pegasus takes a step back. But this single step is enough to determine the victor. I can breathe again. Are they done fighting? And this light in front of me, this warmth. Wait, are you using the light to cover us from this sand kicked up by the duel?
The Radiant Knight. She's still the same Radiant Knight as always, isn't she? She never turned her back on the infected. She swings her blade for us, and she lifts her shield to cover us.
So that's how it is.
The Radiant Knight. The Radiant Knight!
You really have grown, Margaret.
I'm sorry, Uncle Liam. You didn't use any arts, and I wasn't going to use mine.
Nobody ever stipulated that campaign knights cannot use their arts during a duel. Furthermore, you are no campaign knight, Margaret. I've seen your feats in the arena.
Haven't you always looked down on the knight competitions?
I've always had contempt for those hypocritical performances until now. You fought well, Margaret. And the show you put on in the arena was not the full extent of your power.
Is that a compliment? Thank you.
You've defeated me once again. 10 years ago, you were already almost unstoppable. And now you've perfected your techniques and arts. A spear that can control its own sharpness far exceeds your prior abilities, as well as what I am capable of.
But even if I've won...
That's right, Margaret. Even if you've won, so what? I asked you to lift your weapon, and so you did. You came here prepared to fight. But, have you thought about what comes next? We made no agreement.
I never once thought that a single victorious duel would make a Silverlands Pegasus yield to me.
Even if I left those infected into the city, what does that mean for them afterwards? How should Cavalierki accept them? And how are they to survive in Cavalierki?
It's not as if I haven't given these things any thought, Uncle Liam. Reality is not a game. The day won't abruptly end, nor will there be a clear-cut winner. So I've made up my mind. Yesterday I received a letter from the Adeptus Pravildavli. It credited the Casimir's Alliance Medical Organization for the treatment of infected with substantial contributions to the Major. Under significant pressure from people of all walks of life, the Adeptus considered allowing this organization to continue working in Casimir's and established a special regulatory agency. And this organization needs Someone who can work closely with both sides to serve as a bridge.
Margaret, are you saying?
Please inform the Grand Knight that I will take this position.
Margaret, did you decide all this before you chose to fight me?
Yes. But I also believed you would want me to demonstrate my determination.
You really have changed. In the past, you only knew how to charge ahead alone, consuming yourself in your own radiance. When did you learn to take all these other things into consideration?
While I was thinking about how to save people. During my years of exile, I made some friends who weren't the mightiest of warriors, but had hearts no less sincere than that of any knight. I may not ever become as thorough and thoughtful as they are, but I do hope that my light can illuminate lands far and wide. To this end, I am willing to learn some new things.
Excellent. Those companions of yours must be very trusty indeed. All units, allow these infected persons to enter the city. For the time being, custody over these individuals will be transferred to Margaret Nural.
They're letting us in? Thank you so much, Radiant Knight. You're a lifesaver.
The Radiant Knight. I don't know if we can trust you. You helped us, but what good does it do? After all the hardships we've endured to return to Cavallerielki, what kind of life awaits us?
I have no answer for you. I'm sorry, but I can't make you any promises. Not now, maybe not even for the foreseeable future. But what I can say for sure is I won't ever stop. The long and difficult journey you'll have to face is the territory I've sworn to defend.
Radiant Knight, have you finished going over all the paperwork?
Yes, I've read them all, Mr. Spokesman.
I resign from that position. You can call me Malkiewicz.
Alright, assistant to the chairman of the Rose Paper Union, Mr. Malkiewicz.
And there we go. He has accepted that position that he was offered at the end of the story. He is the assistant to the chairman of the Rose Paper Union now.
I thought this would be a simple interview. I never expected that you'd be waiting for me here.
A simple interview? Hardly. After you won the major, you refused to speak with the press. This will be the first time you've been willing to face the camera. As someone who has just stepped into the media industry, how could I miss such a rare opportunity?
The interview is just a means to an end. I'm here to express my gratitude to you.
Gratitude? Oh, I see now. You're talking about the report published regarding the settlement of the infected following the major. That was nothing more than a minor publication in an inconspicuous weekly medical journal.
But I must say, I was rather surprised.
By what? That we'd report on the plight of the infected?
I didn't think you'd mention the infected at all when it's not necessary, whether positively or negatively.
I understand that not everything between us is water under the bridge. But things always change. As you may know, during the major, I had a rather fruitful relationship with the leaders of Rhode Island. So, why would you rule out the possibility that there might be a spark of friendship between us? After all, we both share the hope for Casimir's to have a better tomorrow. Margaret looks at the chairman's assistant's extended hand and hesitates for a moment before shaking it. This hand does not belong to a knight. It does not sport the calluses of someone who has been honed. It does not have the power to move mountains and split rocks. But it runs very hot. That temperature seems to set the warrior's blood alight almost instantly. Margaret knows this sensation. Every time she stepped onto the field, every time she stood in the middle of the arena, she felt a similar excitement. Perhaps someday in the future, Casimir's too would be filled with this coursing, imperceptible flame.
Yes. To a better tomorrow.
Alright, and that is where we are finally gonna end this whole thing. Oh boy. Has this been a long one, right? Oh, alright then. So first off, before I talk about a bit about the story, the characters and so on and so forth, first a couple of quick updates when it comes to what's gonna be next on the channel. So first off, I will be chilling over the weekend. I will take a chill break, but like I said, I will probably Sunday or early Monday post on the community section of the YouTube channel for the Discord that I talked about for the community. So keep a lookout for that, and before that, probably tomorrow, expect the one operator record I did not have a chance over the past couple of days to record, which will be the one for Kirara. And she has actually two parts to it, so it will be one long video. And for anybody who is new to the channel, I do not narrate usually the operator records. I will do something else with them in the future, but for now they are unnarrated. Jeez, can't even speak anymore. But yeah, that will be coming up tomorrow, then the Discord, and then next week, the only two major things that I have in plan are the conclusion to the episode 10 narration of the main story, and the chapter 3 manga narration that I was working on for a while, but got swarmed literally with stories over the past couple of weeks, so kept shelving that thing for a while. So apologies for anybody who is waiting for the next part of that, but it will come next week, including the main story. And when the main story is done, we are pretty much on track and are just gonna be waiting for the next release, which I am excited for. But yeah, that's the big plan. Outside of that, and I usually don't shield that here, but consider that next week a game is coming out that I have been looking forward to for a long while. I wonder how many of you are actually looking forward to that one, which is Honkai Star Rail. And over on Twitch, I will be probably from Wednesday when it goes live, all the way probably across the rest of the week, stream it over on Twitch. So if you do want to hang out and see how that game is and just talk and chat, I'll be over there every pretty much evening, probably from probably 8 p.m. to midnight Central European time. So just convert that to your own clocks if it fits in with you. But in general, I play pretty much almost every day over there. Currently trying to finish off Everspace 2 as well, which is probably gonna be over the weekend while I chill out. But yeah, that is that. Outside of that, let's go back to the story now, shall we, and talk a bit about it. But the story in general, all I can say is I loved it. This story had so many good and epic moments, so much little lore was sprinkled throughout it, and not just lore about Casimir's and the surrounding areas, but also stuff that you would not expect, like the silent stuff about silence, and the very interesting thing that Tolan pointed out with the two big Sarkas dudes that were pretty much being juiced up with a liquid that is supposed to be like an activation liquid for the Knights' armors. Like I said back then, I am still very interested to find out one day what that liquid actually contains in itself, that it actually works that way on a Sarkas. Pretty much works like steroids for them, and is slowly killing them like actual steroids. Yeah, would love to see that. And then we had the Knights Mora, who I don't think anywhere in the game up until then did we hear anything about them. Maybe somewhere remotely, but I really can't remember because there's so many stories and so much stuff. But yeah, very interesting. And then in one of the epilogues, we actually get to, if I'm interpreting that one right, the boy actually made it all the way up to the north, summoned his army and marched into the whatever demons up there are, or whatever the beings they call demons there are, charging at them, which I guess all the luck to you, Tola. Hopefully you survive and we see you again at one point. Would love to see you coming back victorious from that bout. But yeah, outside of that, when it comes to the characters, well, don't really have a particular order here, but we have returning characters from the Maria Nearl story, right? And the Pina Sylvester story being Kowal, Marcin, and V. Really have nothing much to say about them. They are a very, very nice bunch, very nice dynamic between the three of them. Would, however, love to see more about them, considering they are veterans, and if I don't know if endearing is the right word, but it is kind of endearing seeing these old veterans spring into action and help out at the very end, doing something crazy. That was pretty dope. When it comes to Bob, on the other hand, well, look, I have literally nothing against that guy. I'm just hating voicing him. His character, from what I can read, is literally the complete opposite of how I am as a person. So it's kind of like, oh god, I need to be loud. That is not my style. Then we have Malkiewicz, who was pretty much with the story almost from the very beginning of the Maria Nearl story, and who we saw pretty much evolve during the whole thing, and he pretty much had an entire character arc going through the whole thing, and we see him come into his position here at the end. We even get in like we just saw in Nearl's operator record, the full-on confirmation that he, yes, is with the Rose Paper Union now, and who knows what will happen next. I'm kind of looking forward to if he will return in any future stories. And then we have his buddy McKee. Oh, McKee, he tried, didn't he? He tried to appease Viviana, and he got the boot. But I'll say this, all props to the guy. He got the boot, but he sprung back up, and he isn't like depressed about it or anything. He pretty much immediately accepted his big L. Good thing, good thing, McKee. Good thing. Good choice there. But then speaking of Viviana, here is the thing. I talk about this in the an Obscure Wanderer story about Toland becoming potentially, and my theory about why and when he might become an operator. Like, we already have a shit ton of hints, like him becoming an operator. But back then when I was talking about it, I completely forgot about Viviana for a bit. And this story pretty much reminded me that, and this is purely to do with the theory, and I'm not gonna talk about the theory right now, but I'm just gonna say the theory that I had, what could happen, and what the next Casimir story might overlap with, considering the ending of the Wanderer story. I have a feeling she might be becoming either they're gonna do another giant story and introduce two 6-star characters at once with it, being Toland and Viviana, or at least one of them might be on that thing. I would definitely enjoy any of them to become a operator, and especially if they slap them both onto the same kind of thing, I would be very glad to see that. So I'm gonna put my 2 cents down, my bet on the theory that I said at the end of the Wanderer story, that Viviana and Toland, I'm gonna add Viviana to the pile of the two of them might become operators in the same story. Just saying. Oh, alright, then we have, for more side characters, we had Russell. I have nothing much to say about Russell. She's definitely that dignified old knight who knows her way around. She definitely planned a lot of stuff ahead, pretty much conniving stuff in the background, but all for a good purpose at the end. And she's definitely interesting as a character. Definitely has a aura on her when she appears, from both body language, the way she is drawn to the way her text is written. Toland, I already talked enough about it. Charlie, who appears for a couple of moments. I can't remember if I expected to actually ever see him again during this story when I originally read this one, but I'm glad that they addressed him, and I'm glad that they shown him. And I'm kind of wondering now if he actually went through with it and he drunk that poisoned wine and he's actually gone now. But I guess the only concrete way we can know about that is if there's gonna be any mention in a future story about that. And I guess finally, when it comes to... Oh, before the final guy. Roy and Monique. Right. Like I said, Lazarites is units. In-game units. I hate their guts of them. But Roy and Monique as characters, I do enjoy. They have a fun dynamic between them. One of them being the like chill guy. Chill, playful guy, the other one being just pissed off the entire time. Good dynamic. Polar opposites, love it. And like I said, their conclusion, actually, you can actually see their conclusion in the to be continued story in one of them. If you go to the playlist that I'm gonna link in the description of the video, I think it's in part 2. I can't remember from the top of my head right now, but I think it's in part 2. And then finally, from the side characters, our big boy, Dikaiopolis. Oh boy. Again, he kinda reappears for a moment, I think, in the to be continued story with Roy and Monique. But yeah, man, what a character. He definitely brings the power to the screen when he is on screen. Man, the clash, like I said, I think I said it only in a comment, but man, the clash between Nearl and him is one of those. If Hypergriff ever decides to pick up any of the side stories as like OVAs, I mean, OVAs. This is a long story. Let's not kid ourselves. This is not gonna become an OVA. If they pick up the Nural storyline as a spin-off of the main story, this is gonna be its own whole thing. Probably 2 seasons long if they're gonna do the whole thing. But yeah, the clash between him and Nural would be absolutely amazing to see in an animated form. Oh my god. As for our main crew, which are operators, let's go through the minor appearances. Like Hibiscus, I mean, she appears, she's bubbly, she's squeaky. It's still the young version of her, and I think I said it already, but my god, hearing the difference between young Hibiscus voice and the older Hibiscus is night and day. Like, that is a completely different person. Then we have the Pinus Sylvestris Club, who is always fun to be around. Very fun characters. Sona being just these springy little squirrel she is, just jumping around. Wildmane being an absolute badass. Ashlock just doesn't give a shit and will hit you in the face if you say something wrong. Especially if it's about Sona. And Fartooth being the more quieter in the background character, but still adorable. Oh, I forgot about Chefchik. Right, I forgot about Chefchik now that I think about them. It was nice seeing Chefchik during this story actually as well evolve as a character, and not just be the knight that we seen in the first part of this whole thing, but him actually joining hands with Pinus Sylvestris. Even there at the end, he stops as he steps in to protect Nural and Dikaiopolis as they march towards the exhibition hall, which was nice of him. Very nice. He was probably the biggest surprise in there to appear and protect everybody. Everybody else, I think, would be expected, but him, who said his goodbyes already, reappearing, good stuff. Coming back to our main crew. Right, Nightingale doesn't really get to do much. Her interactions with Nural are always adorable. Same goes for Shining. The three of them definitely grew to be very close compatriots during their time of wandering around and helping the infected. So that's the three of them. There's definitely a dynamic that's always enjoyable to watch. Shining being an absolute badass during the story is amazing, and like I said during that part, I wonder what's gonna happen when she actually has to one day use use her sword. Is she gonna have to leave? Is she gonna turn into a completely different person? Is she gonna stay and we get another altar? Who knows? The chances are all there. Pretty much equally spread out. Then we have obviously the Nurls with and I love how much more Mlinar gets portrayed as the guy who works in the background and as a very depressed, very sad tsundere who's only painting to see his lost family members, his brother and his sister-in-law, and more on that in his own side story. But yeah, I like how he differently appears here, because while yes, in the Maria and Nearl story when he first appeared, you can tell that it's a bit off the way he speaks, because he comes off as he's just an asshole and doesn't care about, at least on first glance, doesn't care about his family. But obviously, the more you start reading into his lines and the way he acts towards them, it's definitely that type of, oh my god, can you not learn it already? None of that is necessary. Can you not see what I'm doing? Like, no, they cannot. Talk to them. I would love. Oh my god. I need to see. I need to see an animated GIF or something about of that one scene from Kaguya-sama, and just replace the dude on the couch with with Mlinar, and behind him the doctor with the fucking newspaper smacking the shit out of his head. And that's me. That's me. That's the doctor. That's the doctor smacking the shit out of him. Use your words. But yeah, he's definitely an interesting character, and yes, he does get a ton of more characterization during his own side story, which I obviously recommend you continue if you've paid attention up until this part. Nearl finally getting her moment to shine through this story, who was always portrayed as a super diesel dope character, but obviously her initial iteration as a 5-star defender wasn't that much outside of healing. But now seeing her at her pretty much almost, or rather fullest potential, and just being diesel as all fuck is, or rather was very, very good to see, especially for me. Because she was one of those, when I started playing the game originally, she was one of those characters that most stood out to me at the beginning. Especially as someone who loves these types of knight stories and stuff, and she appearing and introducing herself as a knight in the very first moment was definitely left an impression on me from the very beginning of the game. Maria, I mean, I have nothing much to say about her. I just like that she finally is falling into the place that she will eventually be in later, and that is being a craftsman, essentially. Well, yes, originally she picked up the dream of her, or continued the dream of her sister. It was also her dream to an extent. She didn't just haphazardly pick it up, obviously, but was nice seeing her slowly during this story now falling into the place and becoming, well, picking up her hobby to be her major kind of thing, essentially. Then we have Zofia, obviously. Zofia is always fun, not gonna lie. Zofia, especially when she gets pissed off at Maria, is always a fun little thing, and I love it how she becomes fuming around her to put her back in her place. So yeah, fun character, and we know that she ends up as one of the instructors on Rhode Island later, so fits very well with her personality. Then we have, I guess the final two would be Gravel and Platinum. Well, yes, Platinum did play a role throughout this entire thing. Obviously, you already get for a long time the impression that the position of Platinum is not something that, like, she gives too much of a shit about, I guess. And especially when she got pushed there at the end to get the fuck away. She chose to get the fuck away. So good choice. Also, Platinum did have more stuff. You can find it on the channel if you want to know more about her and how she is in her daily life on Rhode Island, in her own operator record. So just look that one up. That one was fun. And then finally, Gravel. Again, Gravel was one of those characters that is, like I said, with the roster of the game since the beginning, and you obviously, for that purpose, have very little on her besides what was written in her file. But with this story, we finally get to see her for the first time. We get to see the moment she comes to Rhode Island, and through her module story on top, we get to see a bit more about her past and how she essentially grew up with her Knight Primus. And yeah, I always appreciate these moments when they show us a character that has been with the game for a long time, and they show us, oh, this is how they got to Rhode Island, kind of deal. Always fun for me to read through those. And most of them come from actually operator records, which is kind of the obvious thing. But yeah, I think that covers pretty much everything, unless I forgot someone, but there's a ton of characters, so I'm probably forgetting someone. But anyway, oh yeah, and I hope we see actually Darksteel appear in some future story. Would be nice. But yeah, when you think about the grand picture of things as well, we now have a storyline with the Nurls that is essentially like a modern tale of knights, steeped in some sort of reality, or more realistic concept. Then we have the Abyssal Hunter storyline with Aegir and Abiria, which is very Lovecraftian and very dank. And I love that one as well, for exactly those purposes, and being Lovecraftian as all hell. Always like the creepy shit. Then we have the Yan storyline, which is steeped in like tradition and mysticism and well, gods. Very interesting. Very much looking forward to see that one continue, which, by the way, will continue for anybody who isn't keeping up with the Chinese client. I am not. I just see what's coming. But we will get a continuation of that thing very soon in the next couple of months. Looking forward to that shit. And then also a story that technically was thrown about all over the place at the beginning, like in small little places, like the Mansfield Break story and the manga for Rhine Lab. Now finally also kicked off in the recent months with Dorothy's Vision, and potentially will be one of the next big side stories, essentially covering multiple entries. Who knows? At least that's what it feels like, and what they set up there at the end. So looking forward. And then let's not forget that they technically also set up as a fifth big story the Lethanian story that was told through the Lingering Echoes side story very recently as well. So there are 5 big giant side stories that are all probably going to be told across multiple entries, and some of them already have, obviously. Looking forward to all of them. The future is interesting. But yeah, that will be it for now, and all I can say is I will go and chill now and drink some tea to get my throat back under control. And all I can say is thank you all for listening and watching these narrations. It means a lot to me, and like I said, thank you for getting the channel finally over the 500 mark. I have no idea where it is right now. I haven't watched since I started recording, but we'll see once I'm done, or rather I'll see it. And yeah, if you've liked this video, please leave a like, it helps in the algorithm. If you're new to the channel, consider leaving a subscription, it helps a lot, like I just said. And who knows, maybe we'll get the channel actually to the next big milestone, which is the 1000 mark, and get it actually monetized, which would be nice. I don't know. Anyway, thank you all for listening and watching. I hope you have a fantastical day wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, bye bye.